Hi there. We're here today to show you once again how our premier financial professionals are not only making the lives of their clients great, but the lives of their community and the special things that they do within it. Today we have Donna Kendrick with Sephton Financial to share with us her charitable organization, Safe Harbor. Safe Harbor is a program that helps grieving families through a very tough time. Donna's going to share with us her own experiences and her family's experience, as well as how they continue to support the organization and their charity and the people within their community. So let's take a look at Donna. Hi, Donna. How are you this morning?
Good, Melissa. How are you?
Good. Well, I wanted to thank you so much today with just joining to kind of talk to us about your charity organization that you work with. So can you tell us a little bit about your organization and
Sure.
its foundation?
Yep. So sure. The organization is called Safe Harbor. It is based out of Abington Hospital right here. We are in the suburbs of Pennsylvania. It is run through Jefferson Health now, and it started probably about 20 years ago. This is our 20-year anniversary. In 2001, there was a beautiful woman named Jackie Olson, and she was, I think, the director of their hospice and home care. And she realized that there was a huge need for kids to have support when they had lost a parent or a caregiver, and there was nothing there. So she established Safe Harbor, and it actually is a wonderful program that provides grief support to kids who have lost a parent or a caregiver, and it has evolved to open so many other programs, has become just so helpful in our community. They make sure that the premise is that there's no child grieving alone, and that is open to everyone. It is a no-charge service. It's a wonderful foundation.
Oh, that's great. Can you tell us a little bit about how you became involved with this organization?
Sure. Back in 2013, my family had just moved to this area. We were born and raised in Philadelphia, but with my husband's employment, we kind of traveled all over the world, like moving every 2 years. So it was very exciting, but I was most excited to come back to the Philadelphia area. So we moved in September of 2013. And by November of 2013, my husband had passed away suddenly. And so we were really new to the community. My kids didn't have a friend base. They had just started school in this community. And neighbors in our new block that we're in Springfield Township, Montgomery County, were just fantastic and gave us this resource and asked us to reach out. Within 2 weeks, my kids were enrolled. And it was wonderful. It was, I think, set up probably so that my kids, at that time, my kids were aged 12, 11, and they would go once every other week to this wonderful group where they could sit and really grieve and learn how and feel free and cared and with caring in nature. But it was from the community that we actually got connected.
Oh gosh. So can you tell me a little bit about, what was sort of a moment when you really knew that the Safe Harbor was helping your kids and what the real benefit was?
Sure. So Safe Harbor, the way it works, it runs kind of through the school year. So the kids can go one night every other week, and they go into a very age specific and a specific support group. So we had lost,
You just take as much time as you need.
okay, here we go.
It's all good.
So it was really beneficial for my kids is because the way Safe Harbor programs went out, it's very age specific and loss specific. So we had lost my husband to suicide, and the kids went into actually a healing after suicide group, which was really beneficial for them because they were able to express their loss and the sensitivity that they needed. And then as they aged and became more comfortable with the way that they lost their, were able to kind of blend in to the general loss groups. And that was really good for them because they had a nice foundation in how to speak about his loss, how to respect his loss. Um, and that helped moving forward in life outside of Safe Harbor. Because they had the right words, they had the right understanding. So that was really, really great to see that progression. And because it was kind of such a well-run organization, they knew they needed that. And they knew when the time was ready for them to move into the general loss group. So to have a program that is free, right, and that is so specific and so nurturing, and not constant because it's a touch. It's 2 times a month. They look forward to it. They weren't overwhelmed by it. I think one of my favorite stories is my youngest was 8, and he was not happy to go. He was not, but we would bring him along. And they had what was called a volcano room. So he would just go to this volcano room. It was like a big old padded room, and you'd get all sweaty until he couldn't take it anymore. And he did that for about a year straight until he slowly got comfortable enough to morph into a lost room. So that's when you start to see that impact, when you see your kids gravitate from the one lost room to the general lost room, and then fully participate in what could be art therapy or dance and movement, as well as crafts and just general sit and talk therapy. They don't even realize that they're in this counseling program. It's a place they just feel safe and enjoy being at. Yep.
When I came to Safe Harbor, I was 8. I was a little hesitant at first, but I think as you get into it, it's easy for you to share your feelings as like you're with other people that have gone through similar experiences that you have. I think Safe Harbor really helps you learn to cope with the death of a loved one. I think you're with people that you've have similar experiences with, and you can share from with each other and like really learn from each other. And I think it was a good experience to be a part of.
So it sounds like it was an amazing facility to help your family and your children through what was a really, really tough time. But it also sounds like they don't stop just once the initial services are provided. Can you talk to us a little bit about how they provide ongoing support or long-term support?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the charm of how the program has evolved over the last 20 years. So when they first started, I think it was 26 kids, 17 families. Now they have touched the lives of like 1,800 families. So it usually works for children age 4 to 12 for the counseling. And then they extended it because they saw this called rocking out. So once you are in the program for a little while, you kind of feel like you've got it. You're doing good. You rock out as the ceremony with these rocks, and the kids kind of graduate. Now I will let you know that as the kids are in these therapy groups, the parents are also in a big group setting, and we're learning what they're teaching the kids that week, so that we can spend the next 2 weeks implementing that relationship with grief and healing. So it's a whole family involvement or caregiver, whoever is the most influential to that child. So it works as a whole in comparison. So when the children rock out, many of us parents are like, what? Like, we're not ready to go. We still have to raise these guys, and we don't know what we're doing. Many of us are dealing with our own level of grief. So they create what's called a moving on group so that the parents could continue on even after the kids have made this beautiful independent decision to rock out. It allows the parents to just keep going, to learn about how to continue to care give, how to move on to different relationships and still keep the respect for the parent that has been lost within the family. So that's a beautiful program. They also put in a young adults program for our kids to come back from college from 19 to 29. So there's a young adults program. They have a program called Harboring Hope, which is an interactive weekend. So a lot of the kids, like my children that have grown up and they're in college, they come back and they lead the group to kind of spread that love. And my favorite part of everything they do is Camp Charlie. So Camp Charlie is a week right after school is end. It's a whole week outside of the campground. A lot of our kids that have graduated the program come back, tons of volunteers, and they just give a whole camp experience with a flavor of respecting grief, living through it. But it's just a beautiful experience the whole week in the first week of the summer, and it's right outside of Philadelphia here. They're virtual last year in 2020. I love seeing how the program had pivoted through everything in COVID with doing online programs, mailing out at-home gifts and like workbooks for families. The kids might be just Zoom saturated so that they can continue working together. And again, being a resource for these families and these parents when they might be stuck at this time. So.
When I first came to Safe Harbor, I was a little hesitant and really scared because I had never talked to anyone my age about the loss before. But I really quickly felt accepted and included, and it was such an amazing experience to know I wasn't alone. I was in a specific group with people who had the same type of loss that I had, so I never felt strange or like an outsider the way I sometimes did at school. And I went to our summer camp, Camp Charlie, which was such an amazing experience for a year. And then the next year, I was able to be a teen buddy and kind of help kids who had gone through the same thing that I had. And I do that every summer I can now. And I would encourage everyone to get involved in this organization because it really, really works wonders for kids who are having a hard time dealing with a loss or feeling alone. And I have friends that I made there to this day. And it's such an incredible thing, Camp Charlie and Safe Harbor. And the fact that it's free is so amazing, such a lifesaver, because a lot of families go through a lot of financial strain after a loss. And having just that space to connect free of charge is such an amazing gift.
You know, a lot of these volunteer organizations need a little bit of assistance from the community. So, of course, I'm sure monetary helps, but how would somebody be able to donate, either volunteer or donate monetary, or, you know, and what are some other supplies or things that they could help this Safe Harbor with?
Yep, that's a great question. So of course, financial donations really help. I think the average, it costs about $350 for each child to go through the program. And again, there's no length of time they can or cannot stay. It's usually about 2 years because I like to make room for other families for capacity. So yeah, you can donate through fundraising. You can donate online. You can do gifts in kind, but more than anything else, you can attend an event. So they often, Jefferson Health and Abington will sponsor events, like come out, like when COVID lifts and we're all better, come out to a gala or come out to a carnival. We originally started fundraising. We did a 5K. And so we raised money with Team Kendrick as a 5K for Safe Harbor, which then moved into a half marathon. So we're trying to find other creative ways to give moving forward. You can also give of your time. So if you've experienced loss, many of us have lost a parent or a caregiver along the way, and you're in the area, then please feel free. They have a program where they can actually teach you. It's 2 nights a week out of your month to come in and help co-lead one of these groups, especially with Zoom now. We're all accessible. And even if you have a spouse that might have a degree in social work or be a nurse or be a teacher, and just have that ability to give, reach out. They are so creative and how they will help you support Safe Harbor. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. When I told them I was doing the running group, they're like, okay. It's been wonderful. You could even run your own fundraising event, right? Bring your friends on virtually, have a wine tasting, and ask them to donate a little Safe Harbor. It's the small things that can really make a difference. Yep.
Nice. Now, your children went in about 2013.
Mhm.
We're now in 2021, but I notice you keep saying we. So clearly you and your family are still very involved with Safe Harbor. You talked about the running team. What are some other things that you are doing with your involvement with them?
So with Safe Harbor, my daughter and my son are actually always Camp Charlie counselors. My son now is 19, 6'2", and gigantic. And I will say a majority of these children have lost their fathers. So for him to have that male influence, like literally he's a very introverted boy, to see him like to go pick them up from Camp Charlie, and there's like 4-year-olds hanging off his arms, like they're just swinging off him. They just flock to him. And that's just a wonderful way to see just being who you are is the gift, right? To pass forward. So they all take part in Camp Charlie. Whenever my kids are back from school, they take part in helping through that Harboring Hope or volunteering right there. My daughter does writing for the newsletter sometimes. And it's an amazing experience. It really is. It's nice that they still appreciate the time they have there and they know to give back also. And then here in my own practice, I make sure that a portion of my profits each month go straight to Safe Harbor. It's just part of who we are and part of the mission of why I'm in business. So, yep.
I'm Connor Kendrick. I'm Donna Kendrick's son, and I lost my dad back in 2013. When I first went to Safe Harbor, or when I was first going to go, I was still 12 at the time, and I was super scared. I didn't want to talk about this difficult topic. I didn't want to show these hard emotions that I was feeling. And when we actually got in and went to a couple of meetings, I realized that as a kid, there are probably millions of kids around the world that are feeling these same difficult emotions, and even people that were around my area were feeling these hard emotions, and we could talk about it and deal with it. And you would know that these emotions that you're feeling are valid and that they're not anything different, and that this isn't a normal thing, but it's not uncommon. And you're not going through it alone. You're not the only one in the world where it feels like your whole world's against you, and you're not. And I think that Safe Harbor really helped with that. I think that they are a great group of people who handle things very well with children and adults. And honestly, I wouldn't have gone, looking back on it, I wouldn't have gone anywhere else after my dad passed. So, yeah, thank you guys.
That's great. Well, Donna, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your story and the story of Safe Harbor with us today. I really appreciate both your time and your wonderful energy you always have to tell us about Safe Harbor. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for supporting Safe Harbor. Deeply appreciate it.